Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Mike Langdon, and joining me in the studio today, we've got my Racing Post colleague Dan Charles, and also on the line from our sponsors, Paddy Power, it's Jonny Smith. Now, I hope you had a good Christmas, and Boxing Day was full of festive winners, and now we're moving quickly on to the New Year's Day coupon. But before we do that, I thought it was best if we had a little chat about the Premier League relegation, given that West Ham have become the latest team to change their manager. Jonny, could you first of all maybe just run through Paddy Power's relegation prices, please?
Yeah, of course. We got Norwich at 1-12, 4-7 Aston Villa, 8-11 Watford, 5-2 West Ham, Bournemouth 13-5, and Southampton and Newcastle at 5-1.
Okay, Jonny. In terms of Pellegrini going from West Ham, do you think that was A, the right decision, B, have they appointed the right man in Moyes, and C, do you think that Moyes' arrival affects West Ham's survival chances in any way?
Moyes' arrival, interesting. They've gone back to square one, really, in my opinion. They didn't really improve much under Pellegrini. If anything, I think they've weakened West Ham. They've lost a lot of attacking threat, in my opinion, anyway. And I think Moyes may well keep them up, but long term, I don't think he's the right man for the job, in my opinion. And I think West Ham potentially rushed and panicked at this one with a recent downturn in form. And I think, I think I can see him staying up just about, but it's going to be a tough call for him going forward, I think.
Dan, any interest in the sort of to go down price?
I think there's a good chance. I mean, you're thinking how many clubs are in serious danger, and probably quite a few now. So you got Bournemouth are dropping like a stone, aren't they? I think the way Watford are playing is going to potentially drag a team in, and it could be quite a high total where the third bottom side, goes down. But I think West Ham are slightly better off with Moyes, just because if you think when he went there last time, what you did get, they weren't often spectacular, but there was a consistency of performance from game to game. Now that's exactly what they're lacking at the moment. They'll go 3 games when they're absolutely awful, and then they'll throw in one good performance, like away to Chelsea, away to Southampton springs to mind. And I think what you're going to get with Moyes, you will get a little bit more of a consistency of performance. That should get a few more points. Whether that'll be enough in a league which is, I think, outside of Villa and Norwich, I think it's going to be a real bum fight, to see who can avoid that third bottom spot. I'm not sure.
I think the key here for me is the fact that usually it's much harder to address attacking problems in January rather than defensive ones. West Ham have got in Haller, Antonio, Yarmolenko, and Anderson, Snodgrass players. They have got that ability, I think, to score goals, and it's then just a case of whether they can get the balance right defensively. And Moyes is probably an okay manager, to do that job and to keep them up.
He needs Antonio to stay fit, because you can imagine him being just his type of player.
Not to dress as a snowman and crash into people's walls.
Oh my God!
That was on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Oh my God! But he's just a sort of forward. You can imagine he'll really love Moyes. I mean, you can get the ball into him. He can stretch defensively with his pace, bit of physical power. Just Moyes' type of forward. If he stays fit, I'll give him a much better chance of staying up.
Fellaini to arrive in January.
I wouldn't rule it out.
and just, I suppose, really, in terms of Moyes, and he's been given an 18-month contract, Jonny, I'll ask you this question. Do you think, we sort of talking here just before New Year's Eve, going into 2020, do you think David Moyes will be the West Ham manager in a year's time, or do you think this is like a stopgap and they'll sort of get somebody better in the summer?
No, I just think it says it all of an 18-month contract. I think it's a pure stopgap option until they find somebody that they can attract to the club that's of a higher profile. I know Moyes is a good manager. He's managed it, obviously, managed at Old Trafford, managed at Everton, been at West Ham before. They know what they're going to get. And I can't see this being a long-term thing. I think they'll get them through to the end of the season, probably keep them up, and then they'll assess who's available in the summer. Obviously, it's short enough contract term, in my opinion, anyway.
Okay, and you're free to go down. I mean, sounds like Norwich are gone according to your odds, but who would be your free to go down now, Jonny?
Norwich, Villa, and then it could be for me any one of Watford or Newcastle. I think this looking at it, Newcastle are struggling injury-wise, which we'll touch on later on at the moment. But yeah, I think it'll be one of those two. Burnley, I think, might just have enough to stay up. But yeah, could well be sucking into it. And yeah, I think it'll be, and maybe Bournemouth. So I think there's going to be a massive sort of 4 or 5 way fight for that one remaining relegation spot.
And Dan, you're free?
I'm going to go with Norwich, Villa and Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth are having a terrible run at the moment, and it's a bad time because their next 5 games are against teams in the bottom 7. Now, if you're going into those crucial games in bad form and with still a lot of injuries out, I mean, if they don't get many points from them games, they're going to be under huge pressure then with a tougher fixture still to come.
Sure, okay. I think I will go for the same two. I still feel like Newcastle could get dragged into it. Might still be a little bit of value just because they've got some pretty serious injury problems at the moment. Now then, let's crack on. New Year's Day, it all starts at 12:30. All these games are on BT Sport on one channel or another, so it's going to be difficult to miss some football on New Year's Day. We'll start with a really interesting game, actually, Jonny. Brighton against Chelsea. Can we have your prices and then your verdicts, please?
We got Brighton 11-4, 13-5 the draw, 10-11 Chelsea.
And what would you?
I'm going to go for an away win.
Yeah, Chelsea. You fancy Chelsea odds on? Yeah.
Yeah, I think just about. I think to me, they've got injury problems themselves. They seem to be struggling, like I touched upon the other day, in terms of that left side of defence. They seem to be getting far too exposed, and I think they've probably got enough here to going forward to trouble Brighton. I do think Brighton will score, so potentially Chelsea win and both teams score in this one. But yeah, I know Brighton have slightly shortened up and Chelsea have drifted after this performance. But I do think Chelsea probably have got enough in here. Should get this one done.
I'm going to go actually against that. I think I'm going to be a Brighton or draw double chance. I just think that Chelsea having had 1 day fewer to prepare for the game could be an issue. And also, just with Brighton, I think they are an awkward team to play against. The way they move the ball, they caused Tottenham a lot of problems. Can't even remember was it Boxing Day, wasn't it now? They all merged, don't they? But I thought they caused Tottenham problems and really a little bit unlucky to lose that game. Deservedly beat Bournemouth. Dan, what's your best bet?
Yeah, I'm on a similar sort of track. I'm going to go with just go with the draw. 13-5 looks a big price. I agree. Brighton having at this stage of the season, when you've got an extra day to prepare, is an advantage. I was impressed with them against Spurs. Also, when they went to Arsenal and really played Arsenal off the park for a lot of that game when they won 2-1. They're only 2 points off of 10th place. I know it's a tight league. You're not far off of being mid-table or getting into the bottom 3, but I think they could finish top half. I think they're a little bit unlucky not to have more points already. Got some really exciting attacking players. Trossard's back on form now. Great assist the other day. Mopé playing well. Jahan Bash, is into the mix now with a great finish. So yeah, I think they'll get a result. I'll go with a draw.
Okay, so a mixture of opinions, I think it's fair to say, for that game. Now, also at 12:30, it's the Claret and Blue derby. Burnley against Aston Villa. We've been very negative about Villa in the studio in recent weeks, and they are on a real downward spiral. Jonny, just how short are Burnley to win this game?
We got Burnley 8-11, 13-5 the draw, and under to 30 Aston Villa.
And Dan, I'll start with you this time. You happy to back Burnley odds on?
No, but I mean, people are talking a lot about Villa recently. Burnley have actually lost 5 of their last 7 games. I just think they're a hard physical side. Do what they do well. Get quite a few results at home. But I don't know. I think Villa, in the Championship, they're used to playing against teams like that. I mean, Burnley do it better than most. I agree with that. But I watched Villa at Watford, and they got panned for the performance. I thought a lot of it was that Watford are improving and were quite good actually. And I wonder. I don't know about Tyrone Mings' fitness. He was touch and go for the Watford game. So.
In fact, he wasn't on the bench though.
That's a worry. I mean, he was supposed to have been in training on Boxing Day. I mean, that I would say if you're having a bet. A good thing to wait to see if Mings is playing because they're a lot stronger with him there. But even so, at the prices, they've got a Grealish bit of class in there. Wesley, who's got a lot of criticism, actually, I thought he had a decent enough game against Watford, occupied the centre-backs and without a lot of service, played okay. So I'm just going to say value grounds. I don't think there's a massive gap between the teams. Draw for me.
Okay, I'm going to go for Burnley to win to 0. I think if you have a look at their record against teams in that bottom half at home, they're absolutely excellent at just sort of winning these kind of must-win games. Jonny, what's your fancy in this one?
I'm going to agree with you, Mark, there. I think Burnley are going to win this one. I think Villa's away form has been woeful, to say the least. They've only picked up 4 points all season on the road. And, I'm going to have to go for a home win. I think Burnley, this is the type of game that they'll be up for. They'll grind this one out, potentially 1-0, 2-0 or 2-1. And I probably would say Burnley win and would any time. And I think Aston Villa's injuries are a bit of a concern. Obviously, with Tyrone Mings out at centre half, they're going to be struggling against Wood and Barnes. They're going to be very physical. And I think they're going to massively miss McGinn up front for his creativity. And Wesley obviously had that chance with great save from Foster. But in the Premier League, you've got to put them away. It's quite simple, really. And I think Burnley will win this one. They've got enough in the tank.
Again, no sort of universal opinion on what's going to happen, but I think that could be the case in a lot of these Premier League games. And we'll be back with more after this.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back, and if the 12:30 games on New Year's Day were a little bit too early for those of you that were out on the razzle for most of New Year's Eve, hopefully the 3 o'clock one should be much more to your liking. And we'll start with a real interesting game, I think, at St James's Park. It's Newcastle against Leicester. Jonny, can we have the prices and then your opinion, please?
We've got Newcastle at 9-2, 11-4 the draw, 4-7 Leicester. I'm going to go with a Leicester win and both teams to score here. I do think Leicester should have enough to beat Newcastle. Newcastle have far too many injury worries at the moment. Clark, Shaw, Lascelles, Lint and Maxim all to take note of are all injured. And I think I definitely encourage punters to be Leicester into the rackers this weekend. And I do think Leicester will have enough up front. Vardy was rested the other day, and I don't know if he's going to play or not this weekend. But look, fine with Iheanacho, he came in and finally stepped up to the plate, really. And I do think, I think Leicester will win this one. But I do think they may well concede. Newcastle look threatening enough going for the game. Just far too much suspect on the break. And I do think they will get a goal, but I think Leicester will win this one.
The nappy factor could be in play here. Jamie Vardy, of course, his wife, Rebecca, it's a baby. She obviously gave birth to. It was over the Christmas period, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was one of many changes actually from Brendan Rodgers, Dan. In terms of Leicester, I think it was 9.
9 changes.
Still managed to win. Does the fact that they rested most of their stars give them an edge in this game?
I think so. Yeah, because effectively it just takes out the. The fatigue factor for them, and that's one of the main reasons. Normally, I'd look at this and I'd say 8-13, Leicester against the Newcastle team. The loss against Everton was actually their first home defeat since the opening day of the season. So, they have been pretty strong at home. But when you look about the injuries for Newcastle that have been mentioned, Leicester keeping their players fresh, and I think psychologically, after losing them 2 games and the Liverpool game, they looked really demoralised. I know it was against the best team in the league, but the manner of defeat, Leicester to Liverpool, they look really, really low. And I think just to bounce back and get the win the game after is massive for Leicester mentally. So I think they'll win this game 8-13. I'm still a little bit unsure about that price. So just to bump it up a bit more, I'll go Leicester and under 3.5 goals at 13-10. Newcastle, I know they've got some defensive injuries, but they're normally pretty well set up by Steve Bruce.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way I'd be looking as well, actually. Leicester, the 9-0 apart against Southampton, actually their games have been sort of tighter than people I think have maybe expected. They do play good football, and the Man City and Liverpool defeats I think are just perfectly understandable given the class differential, despite the fact where Leicester are in the table. Next up, Southampton against Tottenham. A tricky game, I think this one's a call, Jonny.
Yeah, definitely. A very tricky one. Southampton 23-10. 5-2 the draw and 11-10 Spurs.
Dan, start with you this time.
I'm going to go with a draw. I just think that I think the honeymoon's a little bit over at the moment for Jose Mourinho. The Spurs have last couple of performances. The Brighton, although they won the game with a bit of brilliance really for the second goal, wasn't a convincing performance. The Norwich game was a mixed bag really. The defending was poor, but I thought the football with Tanguy and Ndombele in the midfield was a lot better. They had a lot more control of the game, Spurs. So there's a positive there, but I think he's still getting, sort of like getting towards finding out his best team, Mourinho. And against the Southampton team that are on the up, 4 wins in the last 7 games, playing at good intensity. Ings will be nice and fresh because he was rested for the Boxing Day game, hasn't been overworked. I think they'll offer a stern test, but maybe not enough to win the game, so draw for me.
I'm going to go for Tottenham to win and over 2.5 goals. It's a bet I've really liked since Jose Mourinho came to the club. I agree with Dan. I don't think he's sorted out the defensive issues, but going forward, I think that there's still a lot to like about Spurs, who probably should have beaten Norwich. It really was a bit of a kamikaze own goal that cost them. Second half was a good performance, and even before Norwich scored, they had opportunities to break the deadlock, but I'm not sure about them defensively. Southampton, I think you can say the same about them really, a team that just doesn't keep many clean sheets, but in Ings they have got one of the most informed forwards in the league. Jonny, what's your bet for this one?
I'm going to go for Spurs win and both teams to score. I purely think that Spurs, again, going forward, are clinical enough to trouble the Southampton defence. I think, Kane, he got the penalty, came up with the goods at the right time, salvaged a point for Spurs there. And I just think they'll have enough going forward. The Southampton defence is a bit ropey at times, but again, in Ings, like we discussed, he scored 8 goals in his last 8 games. I mean, he's a man in form and probably Southgate should be looking at him really for a potential England call-up. And I think here for me, I think Tottenham will have enough, but I think it could be a close game. But I think Spurs will win this one and both teams to score.
And now on to, I think, one of the most fascinating games, actually, of the whole of the New Year's Day coupon. It's Watford against Wolves. 2 teams, a bit like Dan just mentioned there with Southampton being on the up. These are definitely 2 teams on the up. Jonny, can we have some prices for this clash at Vicarage Road? And also your opinion, please.
We've got 11-5 Watford, 23-10 the draw, and Wolves at 6-5. I'm going to go for a away win here. I think Wolves will have enough in the tank to beat these. I think Watford have been resurgent under Nigel Pearson. I think they've looked really, really strong. And Troy Deeney's finally found his confidence in front of goal. But I think Watford going forward will have far too much on the counter. And I think will cause the Watford defence some issues. So I'm going to go for an away win here.
OK, Dan, obviously a regular at Vicarage Road. Nigel Pearson's definitely had an impact. But you were saying that even before he arrived, that Watford were playing a lot better, even under Hayden Mullins.
Yeah, Hayden Mullins went back to a system. They were playing 3 at the back previously under Quique Sanchez-Flores. He's gone back to a 4-2-3-1 that was used under the previous regime. Javi Gracia got them to 11th last season. It just suits the players a lot better. Even more now they've got Ismaila Sarr playing to a high level, so that's made a big difference. Confidence as well is crucial. You saw the game at Liverpool when they played well but didn't have the confidence to take those chances. Now the goals are starting to flow, and that's where I'm going to go on this one. I think it's very hard to pick a winner. I'm going to say both teams to score. A shade of odds on is the bet here. You look at Pearson, the way he manages. When they went down to 10 men against Aston Villa, that was a brilliant substitution. Ruthless in a way that Chalobah, who come on at half-time for the injured Will Hughes, he substituted him after 15 minutes. But it was the right thing to do. He's kept 3 attacking players, gone with a 4-2-3. Most managers, certainly Flores, would have sacrificed Troy Deeney, Deulofeu or Ismaila Sarr.
Deulofeu would have been the one to come off.
Yeah, Deulofeu would have come off, but he's gone 4-2-3. Said I'm still going to keep that attacking threat on the pitch, and Deeney's gone and won a penalty, quite soon after. Sarr scored his goal with a fantastic counter attack later on in the game, and they were superb with 10 men, and that just shows how he spoke a couple of weeks ago, that Pearson, about sometimes you've got to risk losing a game to win a game, and you can see that in the way he's got the team set up. I know they're conceding less goals, Watford, but they're actually playing more positively, and I think they will, because they do drive games now, they will leave a little bit of a gaps for Wolves, who are a good counter-attacking team to exploit. On the Wolves side, played really, really well in the 2 games against City and Liverpool. I just wonder, I know they made a few changes at Liverpool, but look, midfield, which is a tough position, Neves and Moutinho played both games. Now, that's asking a lot, for their levels to be the same for what is it, a third game in 6 days.
Do you think Nuno wishes he would have rested everybody now for that game?
I wondered if he might have done that, but because you're thinking it's going to be a tough enough game anyway. I mean, to be fair though, they're very, very close to getting a result. But you'd think maybe target the Watford game, try and get 3 points there, and instead of putting a massive effort into nicking the point at Anfield. But now the way it's gone, fatigue a bit of an issue for Wolves, but I don't know, very tight game with goals though. I think there's both teams to score for me is the way to go.
The bet I'm interested here, when Chalobah came on, and did he play sort of off of Dini, or was it still Decore?
When Chalobah came on, he played higher up, and I'm not really sure why they're doing that, because he's not really suited to that position.
But that could point, I think, towards a bet into, because Dan mentioned Will Hughes got injured there. So just wait for the team news. If Chalobah, Decore and Capoue are in that midfield three, I wouldn't mind a few quid on Chalobah. It's a position that he's not used to playing, but just I think if you are playing that far advanced, it does you could land a bet at a nice price. If Decore plays in there, I mentioned him on a previous postcast. I think he is overpriced at the moment when he plays off of Dean. He's having a few shots. He's not the best in those situations, not the calmest, but he's definitely got quality.
Hughes took a knock. He may still be all right. If he is all right, the Decore bet is one, a real, good chance, because he's got the engine, to get on the end of things, and he's got the technique to finish when he's in the position.
And now on to the 5:30 matches, and we'll start with Manchester City against Everton. Jonny, can we have some prizes, please? Just how short are Man City?
Man City are 1-4, 5-1 the draw, 9-1 Everton. I'm going to go for a City -1 and Kevin De Bruyne anytime. City, I think, are far too much for Everton going forward. And I think that Everton have looked promising signs under Ancelotti. And I think this is his first major test, and I think Man City will put them to the sword here. And I'm going to go Man City -1 and Kevin De Bruyne anytime.
I'm going to go for Man City to win and both teams to score. I think it is a bet that most people are putting in on their coupons just about every time City are playing at the moment. Everton picked a very attacking team at Newcastle for that game last time out. It was like Sigurdsson and Davis in midfield, Richarlison with Keane, and also Calvert-Lewin in the side. Not saying that Ancelotti will do that again, but he'll probably think it's the best chance of getting a result actually is to go at City. Dan, what's your bet for this one?
I'm going to go with a draw here at 9-2. I just think City at this time of the year, you look historically, they do tend to drop quite a lot of points around this time of year. I don't think Guardiola is too keen on the busy schedule, and City's schedule has been tougher than most, especially when you think they've played 80 minutes at Wolves with 10 men. Then 2 days later, they've had a reasonably tough game against Sheffield United. Had to work quite hard to get over.
Didn't play well against Sheffield.
Didn't play that well. No, they don't look quite right to me at the moment. They don't look like City we know. And against that, you've got Everton 6 unbeaten under Ferguson and Ancelotti. You got the spirit that Ferguson's put into them, and Ancelotti, I think, over time will get them quite well tactically well set up, and they've got a threat. I mean, Calvert-Lewin is playing really, really well as a centre forward. Looks a proper number 9 now, and Richarlison is a big threat as well. Fantastic bit of power and pace to set up the goal for Calvert-Lewin at Newcastle. So I think this is a dangerous fixture for City, and the draw is a little bit overpriced.
And next up, it's Norwich against Crystal Palace. Jonny, what are your thoughts on this one? Not an easy one.
Not an easy one to call. 7-5 Norwich, 23-10 the draw, 9-5 Crystal Palace. My bet for this one will be both teams to score. I can't really call the match prices, to be honest. And I think Pukki will score any time for Norwich. But it's an interesting stat. Crystal Palace's shots on target, of 24% of them have come from the left-hand side of the box. So it would hint that they're heavily reliant on Zaha. And I won't put punters off backing Zaha shots on target for this one as well. So, I think I'm going to really struggle to call this one. I'm just going to go over both teams to score.
Yeah, Dan, not an easy one. What's your bet? Norwich
home win for me. I've watched quite a bit of Norwich lately. I think they're a little bit lucky to get the draw against Spurs, but it's reasonably bright in the first half. They've taken the lead now in 6 of their last 8 games. I mean, you can look at that as a positive or a negative. A positive that they're taking the lead off, and a negative that they're throwing away the lead. But I think if they get a bright start against Palace are the sort of team, if you get in front against them, their counter-attacking, strength, if you like, is negated, because you can then sort of sit on the game, and they lack creativity, Crystal Palace, to open up sides when they're behind. And I also think they're kind of running on fumes at the moment, Palace. They're using the same players over and over again over Christmas. kind of hanging on towards the end of that game against Southampton, the 1-1. And I just think this might be a game too far. Norwich have got to try and win games. Only hope they got. I think they're a little bit overpriced to win this one.
Okay, I'm going to sit on the fence there. No idea what's going to happen. And it's pretty much the same, actually, at the London Stadium, where initially I wanted to be with Bournemouth against West Ham. I do just wonder, though, Bournemouth obviously were beaten by Brighton, had a player sent off, and West Ham have changed their manager, and we've seen you can get a bounce, at least in some regards. I think that West Ham had run their course under Pellegrini. So, Jonny, how'd you price this one up, and what's your best bet?
West Ham 10 to 11, 13 to 5 the draw, and 11 to 4 Bournemouth. Obviously, Moyes' appointment would have happily gone for Bournemouth here on the draw, no bet. But I think I'm going to stick with a draw. I think he will have obviously will rejuvenate and give the team a little bit of confidence at West Ham potentially here. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with a draw. I think two evenly matched teams, both in a similar vein of form. And I think I'm going to stick with a draw for this one.
Dan, you've been quite negative about Bournemouth. Does that mean you're going to go for West Ham?
I'm going to contradict myself. I think they're both at risk of relegation. I think Bournemouth, Moyes eventually, like I said, will get more consistency into West Ham's performance. I'm not sure how much effect he's going to be able to have in like a day or two going into the game. And often a new manager bounce comes because the fans are excited about the appointment and it lifts the crowd.
Yeah, they're definitely not that.
I don't see that for this game. I think it's going to be, first goal is going to be crucial, I think, as to whether it lifts the crowd or leaves them deflated again. And I saw enough about Bournemouth in the game at Brighton. There was a little bit of a better performance from them. They lost 2-0. They had a few chances. Callum Wilson only come on a sub, so he should be reasonably fresh. I know he's not in the greatest of form at the moment. But I just think at 11 to 4, prices have kind of reacted to Moyes coming in. I'm not sure they should have reacted that much short term. So Bournemouth for me, just take a chance on them.
And we've saved the best till last on New Year's Day, 8 o'clock, Arsenal against Manchester United. Been a real long day for those of you that want to start watching it at 12:30 with Brighton against Chelsea, all the way through to this evening game at the Emirates. Jonny, how do you price this one up, and what's your best bet?
We've got Arsenal 6 to 4, 5 to 2 the draw, Man United 6 to 4. I'm going to go for an away win here. I think Man United will rise to the occasion. I think the front four will cause Arsenal defence all sorts of issues. And I think Arsenal are just prone to an error. So, yeah, I'm going to go for an away win. And Marcus Rashford shots on target, get on the overs. 26% of Man United shots have come from the left-hand side of the penalty area. So go for Marcus Rashford shot on target on the overs.
Well, there's a Leeds fan tipping Manchester United. They must be good things, Dan.
Yes, I'm going to go with Man United here. I don't underestimate, though. I thought Arsenal against Chelsea, there was a better performance from, certainly for the first half against Chelsea. And I think part of that's Arteta coming in and wanting that intensity and the high press. Part of it also might have been that Chelsea got the team wrong. And once Jorginho's come onto the pitch, 37th minute I think he was brought on, Chelsea improved as well. So there's a little bit of both there. And the problem is, with Arteta is that he hasn't probably got the players to sustain that, for 90 minutes. And we've seen this a little bit before, even before Arteta come in. Arsenal have had spells in games where they've pressed and haven't been able to keep it going for 90 minutes. So I'm not sold yet that he's a long way along the road to solving Arsenal's problems. They've had one win in 15 games in all competitions. That's disastrous for a club of that stature. And I just think defensively, Man United are better. And if Arsenal are going to press high, Man United are really, really dangerous on the counter-attack. That's why they've got such a great record against Big Six teams, haven't they, this season? I think they've had 4 wins and a draw against the Big Six. Fantastic record there. And you've got Rashford, Martial in good form. Pogba rested, so probably start this game, give him a bit of creativity in midfield. And don't forget Mason Greenwood as well, who's on fire at the moment. Got good attacking options. Man United to win for me.
I'm going to go for United, draw no bet in this one. I wasn't as sort of enthusiastic about Arsenal's performance as, say, what Gary Neville was on Sky. I think he got carried away with the emotion of being inside the stadium. The crowd were right behind Arsenal and they run around a lot. But actually, outside of the goal they scored, they didn't create anything. I mean, apart from there was a shot late on from Willock that just went wide of the post, but Aubameyang was playing like another left back rather than where he's best in the box. I wonder if Lacazette's burnt himself out. He was charging around the pitch, and the deflation of losing a game when they kind of felt like they played well. They've had one day less to prepare. United had a fairly easy game, I thought, against Burnley. It was a pretty routine victory, and as Dan was saying, if Arsenal are going to play this really compact system where the defence holds a high line, it's really asking for trouble against Manchester United. There is still a part of me that thinks it's a difficult place to win, I think, at the Emirates, even though it's not been as difficult, quite so recently. But I still think that it's the kind of game where Solskjaer wouldn't be gutted if it was a draw. And if it's 1-1 with 10 minutes left, I mean, Arsenal just completely lost the plot after the Leno mistake. I think a draw would have been a fair result against Chelsea. I think that's what we could be getting at the Emirates. But if there is to be a winner, I'd more likely think it's going to be the Red Devils. So I'll go for United, draw no bet, and we'll be back with more after this.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Mark Langdon, and joining me in the studio, it's my Racing Post sport colleague Dan Charles, and on the line from sponsors Paddy Power, it's their football trader Jonny Smith. Now we're going to be discussing the sole game on Thursday. It comes from Anfield. It's Liverpool against Sheffield United. Jonny, I suspect that Liverpool are really short to win this one.
Yeah, Liverpool are 1-5, 11-2 the draw, and 11-1 Sheffield United. Sheffield United are slightly shortened up after yesterday's showing at Man City, but I'm going to go for Liverpool win and both teams to score. I think Liverpool are always due an error at Anfield sheets these days, and I do think that I think Liverpool have far too much going forward and should win this one. And I think Sheffield United could nick a goal.
Dan, I know you were sweet on Sheffield United on the Asian handicap for their game against Manchester City, and you got your money back because City only won by 2 goals on Sunday. Is that an avenue you'll be looking to go for again?
No, I'm less. I'm going to go with Liverpool double result at a shade of odds on. I think Sheffield United, Wilder often uses the same players, made very few changes at Manchester City. I just think it being the third game in a busy period, and you've played like a team against Manchester City that worked so hard to stay in the game for so long and compete with them. I think to then go to Anfield after that is a tough ask with it. He'll probably use the same players again. If he doesn't, I'm not sure the backup players are anywhere near as good. And Liverpool, I just think they were brilliant at Leicester, absolutely superb. Could have even won by more goals. Then I thought against Wolves, strong first half, got in front, then kind of played within themselves a little bit. I thought second half relied on the likes of Van Dijk to do the defending when they needed to. And I just think there might be more left in the tank for them. And they do generally start games quickly. They've scored, they've led at half-time in their last 6 Premier League games. So the Liverpool double result at a shade of odds on. Bearing in mind that statistic looks good to me.
Okay, I think an interesting one to look out for here, as ever, is just whether Mo Salah plays, because if he doesn't, James Milner could come in and be on the penalties, and that does give him a much bigger shout. Also, Liverpool have got the Merseyside derby in the FA Cup coming up, and I just wonder if Jurgen Klopp thinks the Premier League's in the bag. They're in the last 16 of the Champions League, whether he fancies, for the first time in his tenure really, a decent run at the FA Cup. So I would wait, I would suggest, just for the team news. But, I mean, all things being equal, Liverpool should win comfortably enough. And if I was to have a bet, I think Dan's one on the half-time, full-time double result. Even if Shaqiri or Origi comes in, they did that against Everton in the recent game. Also against Barcelona, both of them played. And they scored 4 and 5 in those 2 matches. Now then, gents, I'm not going to ask for your naps just yet. I just want anything else in the EFL that's taken your fancy. So, Dan, that's not a nap.
Not a nap. I'm going to say Bristol City at home to Brentford. Now, I really like Brentford, and I think they're probably going to be top 6 by the end of the season. But there's only 2 points between them. Bristol City are at home, 38 points, Brentford 40 points. And Brentford's away record is nowhere near as strong as at Griffin Park. They've won 5, drawn 1, lost 7 away from home. And I just think their free-flowing football that they play, it's not as easy to execute on the road as it is at home. And Bristol City had that confidence-boosting win, the 3-0 at home to Luton. I know they lost 4 in a row before then, but that's going to boost them. Eliasson coming to the side, provided another brilliant assist. God knows why. I think he only started 8 or 9 games this season, and he's second on the Championship assists this season. But looks like he'll get a run in the team now. And I just think 3-1 for the home side. Brentford lost at Millwall, continuing that poor away record. Last game. I think they might struggle here.
Jonny, anything you fancy in the EFL?
In the EFL, I'm going to go for Oxford, potentially away at Donny Rovers. My friends went Donny Rovers fans, and they said they had no plan B. And I think potentially at 15-8, there might be a little bit of value in Oxford away there. National League, I'm a little bit lower. I'm going to go for Harrogate Town away at Hartlepool. Harrogate have been brilliant, and they put Hartlepool to the sword on Boxing Day, so I think there could be some potential value in the away price there. So yeah, I'm going to go for those two.
Okay, I haven't had a look at the EFL yet, so I'm going to swerve that one. I'm interested to see, though, whether those Lone Stars they've got up front. Of course, January, it starts on Wednesday, and Owen Doyle and Jerry Yates are supposed to be heading potentially back to their parent club. So
the midfielder is key, and Anthony Grant, who's from Shrewsbury as well. So there's a few there.
Yeah.
Anxious times for Swindon Town backers. Now it's time for the naps.
This will not be beaten.
The dulcet tones there of Weymouth's finest, Steve Palmer. I'm sure he'll be out on New Year's Eve having a good old time. I'm going to kick off the naps. I'm going to go in the Premier League for the Brighton or draw double chance against Chelsea in the early game. I thought Chelsea were fortunate to beat Arsenal. They played very well against Tottenham, but actually when you look back at that game, their expected goals outside of the penalty was really low. I mean, that they took advantage of a couple of errors, one from Aurier and one from Gazaniga. Even when they dominated, didn't create a huge amount. And I don't think they get enough players in support of Tammy Abraham, don't have enough players in the box. And I think this is a real tricky game for them against a Brighton team that keeps possession well. They do need to shut that back door a little bit. They do make some defensive errors themselves, but I think they've got good quality at the back. And also, I like the way Graham Potter has heavily rotated his team over the Christmas period. So I think they should be fresh enough to give Chelsea a really tough test. I'm going for Brighton not to lose that game. Jonny, what's your nap of the New Year's Day coupon?
My nap of the New Year's Day coupon is Colchester at home to Crawley. Colchester haven't lost in the league since mid-October, I believe. And I think, they've been one of the most informed teams in League Two, third in the form table in the last 10 matches. So I'm going to go for a Colchester win.
Okay, and Dan, to complete the treble?
Yeah, I'm going to go Sky Bet League One, Coventry evens away to Tranmere. Coventry, I think they got a bit of a long time, didn't they, before they got an away win. They'd gone 9 games without an away win, then got the away win at Wickham, didn't they? What a place to get it, 4-1. And I think there's a reason for them playing so well there as well. They were fresh because they were scheduled to play Bury on Boxing Day, so they've gone into the game a lot fresher and played like that. Matt Godden, who was injured for a couple of months of the season, he's come back to fitness, got a hat-trick in that game. And I just think it's a little bit like the monkey's off the back now with Coventry's away form. I don't think they've been playing that badly away from it. Only lost 2 of the games. They've drawn 7. And I just think this is a fixture now. They're only 6 points off the top of the table now, Coventry. I think they've got a great chance of automatic promotion. And Tranmere, they're hovering, only goal difference outside the bottom 3 at the moment, only 1 league win in 7. Played pretty well in their last game, drew 1-1 at home to Blackpool, but this is a tough match for them, taking on Coventry, who, because they've only played the 1 game, they should have a bit of extra freshness about them.
Okay, so the nap treble is a refreshed Coventry, it's Colchester United, and it's Brighton or draw double chance, and you'll be able to find that enhanced treble on Paddy Power's website. So thank you very much, gents, for the last time of 2019. Hopefully we've given you a few winners, and thanks very much for listening. Happy New Year to all of you that have got in touch over the season so far, and also have interacted with us across all of the platforms, or whether it's on the Racing Post Twitter account or the Racing Post TV one on YouTube, in the comments down below as well. So thank you very much. Happy New Year. We'll be back on Thursday when we'll be previewing all of the FA Cup outright markets, and also a couple of real crackers in there, including that Merseyside derby. And don't forget, if you enjoy these shows, make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. Thanks very much. Happy New Year.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log in to your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.